Hello everyone, welcome back to Total Football Talk. And as always, we're going to look at all this news coming out of Manchester United. There's not really much in the way of transfer news, but there is stories that are bubbling up. Social media is once again back in the headlines. So we'll take a look at who's been, doing what in terms of social media. We'll look at stuff that's being said about Onana, some stuff that's been talked about what Patrick Dorgu has been talked about. It's international break, so we get a lot of information coming out from players who wouldn't necessarily normally speak. And there's stuff that's constantly being filtered through the media, and we'll try and break down some of the news that's out there. And there's also a little bit on Carlos Baleba, so we'll jump into all that. But one of the kind of main stories that's currently doing the rounds is the one about Mainoo and his social media posts. And recently he had a few out there, and it was him working hard at training. And then he posted one in regards to the film Whiplash. Brilliant film. Kind of a bit of a monster movie if you into your films. It's the the head coach or the lead conductor wants to get the best out of his drummer and the young kid Miles Teller, and essentially they go on a journey together. And at the very end of the movie, there's a kind of mutual respect that the J.K. Simmons character manages to get the ultimate out of Miles Teller. And we're just wondering, because the media have put a narrative spin on this to say that it's, you know, that almost portraying Amrin as a bit of a monster, and that he's, not necessarily dealing with Kobbie the way he should be. Mainly wanted to leave the club. He wanted to go out on loan. The manager said he only wanted players at the club that were going to stay and that wanted to fight. So there's kind of a conflict here of interests, and it's a very interesting situation. What should the board have done? Should the board have let Mainoo go out, or should they have let him, just is he here to fight for his place in the team? They've talked about players that they didn't want at the club, that the so-called bomb squad, whatever, got rid of them all, and Rasmus Højlund was part of that. I think only Malassi is the last one left, trying to figure out what he's going to do. That's what the club are working on now. But Kobbie Mainoo wasn't obviously part of that. He did play 45 minutes against Burnley. He probably will have a good shot playing against Manchester City. But where do we all sit with this? Do we think that Kobbie should be doing this in terms of the social media stuff? Should he be posting things like this? We've had this with Garnacho, and we've had it with other players, Jadon Sancho, the freedom fighter, and all that. Marcus Rashford coming out and doing his PR stunts with the ad agencies and talking about his kind of you called me out and I will do better. Unfortunately, Marcus Rashford has kind of gone on to Barcelona, and there were reports coming out of Spain that he and the actual squad aren't living up to the expectations of what Hansi Flick is actually wanting is wanting from them. Players being locked in the dressing rooms and things being said. I don't think it was as bad as what I've just made it out to be, but there is a hell of a lot going on. But social media seems to play a massive part of this. And Kobbie putting up the pictures of him training hard is one thing. Him putting up the picture of the Whiplash and the young fella Miles Teller, the wannabe best drummer ever to have walked the planet. But as I said, at the end of the film, there's a kind of a mutual respect. There's a kind of look to each other, where it's almost like Miles Teller hits the heights that J.K. Simmons' character wanted him to hit and believed. But the only way he could believe in him was by being this monstrous figure and putting him through putting him through hell to get to this particular stage in his career. And so there's a lot of narratives that are going to be spun about this. Kobbie Mainoo is someone who has done, he has been respectful. He has worked hard. It seems to be that he's a good kid. But yeah, this unfortunately has just added more fuel to the fire between their relationship. And I think it's quite on tenterhooks at the minute. What way is it going to go? No one really knows. So, interesting. Right, I can see that. There's a lot of lag in my computer this morning. Don't know why, but there is. So apologies for that. But yeah, so that's where we are with the Mainoo story. So, so that's one sort of issue we have to deal with. As always, we've got issues to deal with, and now we've got the issue to deal with of Carlos Baleba. Because bit of spin this one. No surprise that Manchester United decided not to invest in any centre midfielders this summer. The idea of Manchester United remains that Manchester United will pursue Carlos Baleba in 2026. So, will this be transfer that look in January? Is this transfer that they look at in the summer? Will we have competition? Hell yes, we will. There's going to be a lot of people out there, a lot of clubs looking this sought after young kid, and we're going to have to pay a lot of money to get him because we already know that they're not going to accept the kind of 60 million ballpark figure that they took for João Pedro to go to Chelsea. They're going to want a lot more. Are we going to dance? Are we going to make this happen, or is Manchester United going to have the money to pull off this deal? Debatable. And also, are we going to go in negotiations and drag it out over the entire summer? Probably. It's what we seem to do. We like to get a deal and potentially get it to a particular point and then let it drag out and then see if we can, reduce the fee and end up paying pretty much what Brighton want in the first place. So it's going to be a saga again. So I'm not looking forward to the summer. Or is this just all spin and because we didn't get a midfielder, we're now telling every fan out there that we actually are going to look to the future and try and do things right. But will we, or will we end up losing out and then just having to go for a second or third option? I can imagine it would be the latter, that we'll just end up looking for option 2, 3, and 4 to try and bring through the door. And then who knows where we'll end up in with, Ruben Amorim once again. If he makes it to the summer, well, first of all, is he going to make it to the summer? Good question. And then after that, will he actually, get a new contract? Because he won't have very long left on his last contract. So in the summer, they're going to have to try and figure out whether they're going to give him a new contract. Will Kobbie still be here? Probably. Will Marcus Rashford come back on loan? Apparently his loan, there's a loan clause that allows him to come back at Christmas, I think. That's been reported from Spain. Don't know how true that is. 5 to 6 million that they can terminate the contract. Brilliant. That's all we need is a Marcus Rashford coming back and trying to get rid of him again next summer. Obviously we're going to have that problem anyway if he doesn't do well for Barcelona. So yeah, more issues. But Carlos Baleba, do you believe it? Do you believe that we're going to get him? Get your comments in below. Get your comments in about Mainoo and what you think he should be doing or not doing. Should he be posting these things on social media? Should his team be doing this? Should he just be keeping his head down and working? It's international break and this kind of stuff always comes up. Now, a few other little bits. Apparently, AC Milan were interested in signing Matthias de Ligt, but Manchester United asking price was considered too high. And this is coming from Luca Hona. Do I believe this? Not a chance. I don't believe there's a chance that AC Milan, they may have inquired about him, but I'd say that's about the height of it. He's going to cost quite a bit if anyone did even try to buy him, because he was excellent last year and he started this season like an absolute colossus. And I think he's done very well. And I think he's been very underrated. And I'm kind of glad in a way that he's in the Dutch squad but not actually playing, because I don't want him to get injured. He had a few injury problems last year and we want to keep him fit. So far, so good. He's been excellent this year and I just want to keep him that way. So, yeah, so that was that. And then Patrick Dorgu's been talking to the media and he said on Højlund and Eriksen's exit, that's how it is in football. You never know when your team are going to move on. We knew it would happen to Christian, but perhaps a bigger shock was that Rasmus had to move on too. I talked to him about it during the process and could sense that I can sense what he was going through. Hopefully we will now see each other every time we're on international duty. And I just think that the media again have started to make a big storm in a teacup about this. This is just Patrick Dorgu looking at two teammates from his national team and just saying that they knew that Christian Eriksen was always going to go. His contract was up. Rasmus was obviously a little bit of a shock, but once they made that decision, he was going to go. But Rasmus has been nothing but respectful to the club and done a brilliant job just kind of going about it in the right way. He's left in the right way and I wish him all the best. So I think that pretty much wraps that story up. Moving on, Andrew Nan has been told he can leave Manchester United. Loan most likely, but open to a sale. Galatasaray interested. Saudi clubs are also interested, and that's coming from Graham Bailey. So we always have the story. We had the Saudi stories. We've had the Turkish stories. I think this lad has got to save his career and move on. And I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into it in great depth now. But he did want to move. I think he's got to move, and now's the time to do it. Save your career, resurrect it somewhere else, and time to move on. And this was information coming out from Omar Barada. Duncan Castles was talking about the deal with Semenyo, and Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox held talks with Bournemouth over a deal with Semenyo, but discovered his salary was going to be less. Once he discovered that salary was going to be less than 70%, that they were prepared to pay Cunha and Mbeumo. Bournemouth capitalised by giving him a new extended contract to 2030, and I think obviously Manchester United, other reports come out saying that Manchester United had agreed personal terms with Semenyo. Obviously, he was a target, but I think Manchester United were just lining up targets, so they were ready to go if they couldn't have got Cunha and Mbumo, and I think that's what he was just on a list. But unfortunately, he was slightly down that list, and we managed to get the 2 deals done that Amram wanted, and Semenyo didn't come. Semenyo's off to a brilliant start this season. Excellent player, and will do very well in the league. So that's that one. And now we'll look at why the Amiena report, the Manchester United kept behind Gabriel Bankari, Sakakoni, and Shea Lacey at the club this summer because they're key academy talents, and they could step into Ruben Amorim's squad when needed. 3 excellent young players. I'm not going to go in detail. Stephen Howson's done a brilliant job in this, and so has Adam Matic from Forever United TV. Baron Kerry, a brilliant striker, small, low centre of gravity, making a lot of waves, did very well in the youth team last year, really coming on strong. Sekakoni, an excellent midfielder, ball-winning midfielder who can progress the ball forward, someone obviously we need, but he's not quite ready yet. And Shea Lacey, a precocious talent, unbelievable, but poor lad has been struck down with a lot of injuries over the last few years. So they're all on the fringes of the team. Could they get their opportunities this year? I think they might do, but I think a lot of that will be based on whether there is an injury crisis, or because we don't have cup games really. Well, FA Cup, that's it. So a lot of these players aren't going to get the opportunities they maybe need to show what they're capable of. But they're 3 young players that are very, very talented and could break into the first team this year, maybe later in the year. And I'd love to see them because it's brilliant whenever the academies products come through. And then finally, Radek Vicek has won Bristol City's Player of the Month award for August after an impressive start to his loan in the Championship. I've talked about him before. I thought Manchester United might have signed Martinez, and then we could have brought Vicek back next year, and he could have been the opportunity. He could have been in position to be the opportunity to maybe grab that number 1 spot. This kid's done brilliant. He was an FA Youth Cup winner. He's come through the youth ranks. And I think he's off to a flyer, which is great. Championship is a tough league, so fair play to him. The kid's doing really well, and I just hope he carries on doing this, because this will, regardless of whether he plays for Manchester United, this will give the kid a brilliant career moving forward, and I think he will do very, very well. And maybe and I don't like to think of it like this, but if he is sold, then it means he'll be a valuable sort of asset to Manchester United. But I would have preferred to see him come back and had the opportunity to be a goalkeeper for Manchester United. But if Semi Le Mans comes in and does the job, then he could be the long-term prospect and not Vicek. So that's all the news we have at the minute. It is international break. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're enjoying the content, hit the old thumbs up button, hit the old like button, hit the old subscribe button, get your comments in below on anything I've talked about. And I shall see you tomorrow.